celebrating together so joyfully. Words pour out from our kind souls. There is no place for inflated egos. This place is home to you and me. Surroundings familiar, a community. Let's write the words from our minds. All those adventures will be sublime. This group belongs to the member poets, caring and sharing those precious moments. Let's laugh together, then share some tears, emotions displayed without anxiety or fear. Quill and Parchment Society, elevating poets, honoring art, enriching souls, celebrating community.
Well, here we are, Zach. Can you hear me? Zach? You there? I'm not catching you, Zach. Can you hear me? Okay, Zach's experiencing some technical issues there. Don't know what that is, but as he sorts that out, he's getting ready to call back in. We're going to start the show. We're going to start with some disclaimers, some things that are going on. First and foremost, we did a little collaboration project, and I think there were 5 teams. Started about a month ago. We will be posting and sharing those collaborations next week. So the group will post them, they'll post them, and we will share them here. They are group collaborations. So it is 2 poets writing on the same piece that are group members. I heard something, Zach. Is your volume down? Check your volume. I did hear something that time. Sorry, trying to help Zach with some minor technical issues here. Getting things going here. There you go. I heard something there, Zach.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm better now that I figured out that thing without having a panic attack, so I'm good.
For those of you that don't know, that's part of the thrill of doing these live shows, which let's wrap up, Zach. I was talking about the collaborations. So I'll wrap that up before we move on to this. The collaborations we're going to do next week. So we'll have them posted. I'll probably clear the list of what's there by Wednesday. That's the day I'm going to try to start doing that very consistently, is every Wednesday. So once we do that, we'll post all the group collaborations, and there's 5 teams that collaborated that did finish. We'll get them on there. And next week's show will also unveil the new Poet of the Month for May. So we'll do Poet of the Month. We'll do collaborations. We'll do all this stuff. And it should be a grand show. Now, Zach, let's address the elephant in the room here. I just sent you a message that said great start to this show because we arrived on time, and then we have other technical issues.
Right.
But look how we dealt with it. Good job, Zach.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
There you are, and you're clear as a bell too. You're coming through loud and clear. Fantastic.
Don't hear any no feedback?
No, I don't. I do not at all.
Nice.
Just your voice, no crackling, no nothing like that. And my internet connection says excellent. So hopefully we stay that way.
Right.
Let's
One could hope.
see. I have something that I wanted to discuss that I dealt with in the group today. For those of you that don't know, in case you're not part of our group and you're just listening into this podcast because you enjoy it at some point in time, we run a group. It's called the Quill And Parchment Society. It's on all poetry. It's about 40 members now, I think. Currently is what we have. And some of our members did not know how to operate some of the details of the site. So if that is you, I encourage you to reach out to either other members or Harmo, myself, any of the other members. Let's see, Deborah Leo 5 when she's there, Merv. Haven't heard from Yumpy in a while, so I don't know where he's at as far as back on the site, but those are our coordinators. So if you could reach out to any of them if you have any questions, or me, I would be happy to answer them. But we need to make sure everybody understands what we're doing here. When you post a poem to the group list, the reading list in the group, Zach, what do we do with it then?
Yeah, we when we post the poem to the reading list, we add it straight to the podcast episode topic, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We add it straight to it, and that way, everybody's that signs permissions and posts to the reading list in the group is posting for a show, because we put together a show from the reading list and all that, and it works out magnificently.
Correctly. Yeah.
We were talking about it earlier today, weren't we, Zach? How this thing kind of just flows and is very natural, and it's not hard to maintain. We've even added the fact that we will post on those poems what episodes they were read on, so we don't mistakenly get other poems. So as a member, as a Parchie, if you have any questions about that stuff, feel free to shoot me a message, Zach, a message. We'll help you work it out. But I did put up the information on how to post poems on the group message board. Hopefully that's clear to everybody. And anybody that has any concerns or didn't know how to do that, we'll start doing it moving forward, and we'll just continuously grow more shows and more shows. Now, that brings me to this point. The other thing Zach and I are also discussing and working on. We're having this change forced upon us by Podbean. These episodes that we're doing right now are live. They're real easy to run once you figure out how to do it. The hard part's getting here and getting started usually, isn't it, Zach? Once we get here and get started and we hear each other's voices, then it's just reading poetry and talking and chatting and having a good time. So Podbean is going to force us to go away from this live concept and into a recorded concept. Now, Zach and I have messed with it a little bit, unsuccessfully so far, I would say. Correct, Zach? I could do it by myself. I just can't figure out how to get you involved. So it doesn't really work out the same if there can't be two of us, because who really wants to hear me droning on with my own thoughts, and that's it. You got to have somebody to bounce them off of and somebody to listen to and all that. And that brings us to where we are now. We may end up, we're still discussing this, we may end up taking a season break because we are now in episode 20. Which one's this, Zach? 24?
23, I think.
23, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
I got ahead of myself. This is episode 23. So at 23 episodes, we would end up, before we're being forced out of this live format, I think we'd be at 25 or 26. Which is the conclusion of a first season. And I'm not looking forward to concluding it, but we may put a break in there so we can learn a different platform or actually get to where we can use Podbean as intended by what their format's going to be going forward. So we've got a lot of things coming and all that stuff, as always. But again, we're doing this because we enjoy doing it, and gosh darn it, we just get such good poetry to read. It's hard not to get excited about doing it.
Right.
You Parchies
The
really
art.
do us well. They
Ebooks.
do, don't they, Zach?
Mm-hmm.
They really do. We say it time and time again. So let's see. I don't think we have anything else as far as announcements or important things to say or do. So, Zach, do you want to tell everybody where we find everything we're doing here?
Oh, sure. Everybody listening back home and Parchies could find the poems that we're discussing at allpoetry.com, Quill And Parchment Society, on the very top of the topic board where it says the Reading List Podcast, episode 23, and everything's there. So without further ado, we'll get started. And our first up is Aaron Farrow's piece, and that's Freedom Again and Again. Unfinished ubiquitousness formed and ampersand of you and I, waiting by the wayside for the good ending where a mother's lips meet for the first time. A sacred meeting of real love outside the steel trap mind. It softens as the magnolia rises to the occasion, your heart outside of your body, and a living, breathing light kind. You'll watch them grow faster than fiery saliva, trumpeted and beaming, flowers divine. The days will feel long, but the years will pass elegantly electric. You'll never say this isn't worth it. Not once will it cross your mind. I'll sit there, quiet and attentive, as you study humbly again. I'll know the teen years will make you want to pull your hair out, but try to remember the first pout, where you'll ask infancy, what are you crying about? The heartbreaking is a new lift to remind you how to get out of plight. You'll be broken open again just so one day you can take flight. It'll be like watching you take steps to freedom again and again. End poem.
Good read, Zach. That's a great opening piece. I really appreciated that from Aaron. And the title of it was Freedom Again and Again. I kind of wondered from the title what it was going to be. And clearly, as Zach, you started reading and I was reading along, there was so much to it that was just very endearing and sweet. It's about a child growing up, and all the experiences that are coming and have come already, and it happens so quickly. As a parent, I can say I really understood what this piece was saying and sharing with us, and it was written beautifully, well executed. Aaron, kudos to you. I really enjoyed it. It had a softness to it that I thought felt very mother-like. It felt very maternal. And I really liked that. It was beautifully written in that way. The mention of infancy and uh, things like that were really important details to the process, and then teenage things and stuff like that. It was really well put together and thoughtful, very enjoyable, and a great piece to start the show with. What are your thoughts, Zach?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this piece. Definitely, as you said, it was a maternal sort of piece. I like how the speaker respects the aging process. I think within the child that within her her child essentially, and she like she listens and is quiet and attentive while this child during her teen years is stumbling essentially, and that's important to let I think that stumble happen, but to be um, sort of there just in case that we know when they come back, and like always being there for that for the child, and there's a real sense of like a devotion sort of there. Um, and I just like that um, it's really sort of like the ideal way I imagine a mom would want to take care of a kid in a way. Just not like not it's just, I don't really get the feeling that this speaker is being like overprotective or overbearing at all. It's very soft, as Bill was mentioning, um, and essentially I like how the mom is kind of not in the background but just there just in case like the her kid stumbles and she's always there to pick her back up, and I like that.
Yeah, it wasn't the term helicopter parent. I learned what
Ah,
that was not too long ago. It didn't feel like that. It felt like just the right amount of um, observation, like letting the lessons are learned from skinning your knees. You don't want them to break their
mm-hmm,
bones. You don't want, you know, blood everywhere, but you've got to let your kids skin their knees because that's how they learn. That's how I learned. Don't touch the hot stove. After you touch the hot stove, you know. So well
mm-hmm.
done. I really like the beginning. This is a great way to begin the show. But then again, Zach, we always say they never let us down, do they?
Oh, absolutely not. They never do.
What do we got next?
Oh, that's right. Next up, we have Scarlet Knight's piece, and that's right.
It is titled A Perfect Little Box, A Piece of Me by Scarlet Knight. I am cutting out the part of me that loved you more than I could have loved me. The part of me that put your songs on my playlist while hiding the ones I actually liked. The part that agreed to long road trips even though my spine ached from sitting. The part that put you on a pedestal so high I could only ever be in the shadow of it. Held you above water, but let myself drown. Carried you to the top and fell back down. Abandoned my own needs to fill your wants. Reshaped my own dreams to resemble yours. Crammed myself into a perfect little box and apologized when I didn't quite fit. I can't have that part of me back. It's loyal only to you. So instead, I am cutting it out. I'm taking your songs off my playlist, unmuting my own taste, getting rid of your stuff, taking back my life. Screw the box. It never fit. End poem. Zach, you with me?
Yeah. Um,
Pretty heavy, wasn't it?
yeah, it was pretty heavy. Yeah. That was a
I'm going to read the
dynamic
read
shift.
the author's notes real quick, if you don't mind. It's
Oh,
short and
not at all.
sweet. To my ex, for whom I changed everything about myself, I loved you so dearly, but I need to be me now. Very simple. Doesn't seem hateful either. Go ahead, Zach. Your thoughts first.
No, it's like you said, it's definitely not hateful. It's more like kind of the speaker is just honest, I think, about like, you know, like not hateful, but just being aware that in order for them to fit, essentially, it's like in a way, uh, trying to become a square peg in a round hole where that it just doesn't fit. They don't fit, and she tried to force herself to fit, and it just didn't work. Um, and yeah, I like how it's kind of introduced at first that sort of she's sort of diminishing his impact by erasing those songs on the playlist. That's kind of in a way deleting him from her life in a sense, but she can't really undo um the like some of those gymnastics that like she had to undergo to kind of fit into that box. That's kind of a traumatic thing, I think, but still, she doesn't really hate him for it. I think that the speaker more like mm, just tried to change too much, and it just couldn't work. It didn't work to the advantage of any of them, and there's a sense of kind of like resentment at the end of it. Not resentment, but just like more like I wouldn't say resentment. No, it's triumph more like um and empowerment. I think getting your life back, or the speakers rather, and self-awareness, realizing that um the square peg never fit in the first place. And that's pretty much that's where I think yeah.
So, Zach, you stole the words right out of my mouth. I must have been thinking them too hard because Triumph was one I was thinking of, and this is not this. I will say again, the first thing I said was this is not a piece about uh, anger, rage, regret. It doesn't even sound regretful. There's sorrow and there's remorse. There's all these things, but it sounds like what is being stated here is this relationship started, and this relationship when you go from yourself to a relationship, a mature relationship, there's an evolution. It's growth. You grow together. And sometimes when you get to a certain point in a relationship where you've grown together, that's the break point. You have to realize, is this the relationship I want? Or am I becoming somebody I don't want to be because of this relationship? Because there's always that change. When you're a big part of somebody's life and they're a big part of your life, there's always that change. And then you look in the mirror 6 months down the road, a year down the road, and you say, well, I really may not like who I'm becoming. And it could be a mutual feeling with the partner too that just wasn't stated. So I think that's what this is saying to me. It's empowered. It really is empowered. It's not regret. It's not remorseful. It's not hateful. It's blunt. It's painful. There's pain and there's sorrow there, but it's well written because these kind of emotions, these kind of feelings give a direct indication of how serious the relationship is that ended. And this was a serious relationship, judging by the words and the feelings and the emotions in it. So it was definitely well done and raw and enjoyable to read. And it's sad when you get to the end of a relationship like that. But the most wonderful thing about the lessons you learn is you carry them forward. That's why you end up not regretting those relationships and the mistakes that were made because you learn from them. If you don't learn from them, you'll regret them. But if you learn from them, then you don't regret them and you move on and you become a better person. And that's a good thing. That's what we're all here for. Oh, let's see. Zach, what do we got now?
Next up we have Hint's piece. Oh, good to read Hint again. This
Welcome
is
back, Hint. It's been a minute.
yeah, it has. This one's called Love you, but I hate you. You never really argued. You just let the line go dead, like my voice was noise inside your head. I called to show you how my head tore apart, but I'm a liability, a mess you didn't start. Always checking the clock, always ready to be gone. And I'm a mistake. God, I'm such a mistake. A waste of space I take, a chore you endure, till my ghosts start to yell. I grew so obsessed with your stories, your pathological lies, those fake ass glories. I hate how you curate me, the way you use your tone just to keep me leashed in this godforsaken place on my own. You never loved me, let's be honest, did you? I'm still the fool begging to get through. Every word you ever said was something you cannibalized. A script in your mouth while you look me dead in the eyes. That deep, paralyzing voice holding me like a cell while you watch through the bars of my personal hell. God, I'm insane for trying when all you ever wanted was me breaking down crying. I told you, I told you I don't want your presence. I just wanted your presence. And I hate that I still let you live in my head. You turned me into something I don't recognize. A baby doll you hollowed out to feel your own size. Soft until it became the proof of your emptiness. A soul-sucking void. A masterpiece of loneliness. And I hate you. God, I hate you. I hate you for everything. I hate you. And I hate you. End poem.
That's the theme, apparently. We had two in a row breakup poems.
Hmm.
This one's a little bit darker. This one's a little bit darker, but it's funny that I say that this one is so much darker because it is clearly in the language and the tone and all that. But there is an underlying loving feeling there that has unleashed this torrent of negative emotions because of the end of the relationship. It's not it's not immature, it's not mature, it is passionate. It's passionate, and there's this feeling, that the negativity is there, but the reason that negativity is there is because there was such deep feelings before this split up is what I have gained from it. And there's a couple of things attached, a couple of uh, videos attached, and I don't see anything in the author's notes as far as what this specifically is about, but it's not really hidden. The meaning is not hidden. It's right out front, and it is uh, a neon sign flashing. You know, I have hurt feelings. We've broke up, and there's bitter, and there's all those things that come from it, which again I'll say will end up being growth. What are your thoughts, Zach?
Um, yeah, I got the sense too that there was once like a vibrant side to this relationship, but like really the beat and the tempo of it is all really kind of like is kind of died in a way. There's hints of form or glory, but they're like really just hints. Um, it's mostly just what's chronicled at the end of the breakup rather than the what comes before all the like the better times and some of the not so better times or good times, but like this is just the bitter end as it were, and it just reads really well, so it kind of makes it easy to digest, and it's pretty straightforward. This person uh just couldn't really it's just he seems very emotionally hurtful. Um, by the end of it, he was kind of putting her down, putting the speaker down a lot. Um, and there's only so much of that one can endure. And I think I'm glad that the speaker realizes it, but at the cost of hatred in a way. which is kind of consuming the speaker. But in order to purge the speaker of this kind of this person, I guess the necessary emotion um, to kind of replace that person is kind of this hatred, and it's kind of sad that way. It's just kind of this dark. Like as Bill said, there's a more of a darkness to this one, for sure. Um, a soul-sucking void, a masterpiece of loneliness. That's his. That's how he's described. It's kind of empty, and he. Yeah, it doesn't. There's it's kind of bleak by the end of it, but I still think the speaker kind of becomes aware of like still the how it needed to end in a way, how it had something so maybe that was once not so sinister, but it couldn't really continue something like this, and she was aware of that.
Zach, I love listening to your comment. My favorite part of that one, though, was you used the word hint 3 or 4 times in the middle of your comment. Remember what the poet's name is?
Oh, right.
Isn't that funny? I thought, you know what? That's a very astute observation, Zach. And then I connected it to the poet's name, and I was like, oh, that is so much fun. He was hinting at things, and then it has a darkness to it. He quit hinting towards the end, didn't he? He just let us know
Yeah.
exactly what he was thinking. Well done, Zach. I loved your comment. What do we got next?
Yeah. Next up, we have where is it? Okay, I gotta make sure it's the right one. There it
Dark
is.
Night
Okay,
of the Soul.
Dark Night of the Soul. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And that's
It does not look like a breakup poem, does it?
No,
Judging by the
no.
picture, it's 2 kids holding hands running through a creek in the winter. And it's titled North. Let's see. North, we learn cold and wet as a language, spoken in raincoat and bubble jacket dialects that tutor the subtleties of cold, colder, coldest, wet, wetter, wettest. North, snow and rain teach us to spy on wintry trees behind frosted window panes, the seeing our breath in cold, cold outside air is a magic trick, and that crystalline frost puddles, ripe for stomping, make good friends. North, moms yell, "Go outside!" On I'm sorry, on claustrophic, shut-in, closed school snow days. Oh, thank you, Dark Knight. I love that line. Even though I butchered it, I love that line. And we learned to value our own company and that a little snow in boots, a bit too loosely buckled, never killed anyone. End poem. I'm going to apologize real quick to Dark Knight of the Souls, but I just got so tickled in front of that line. I'm sorry, but I hope you take it as a compliment. All right, Zach, what are your thoughts here?
Oh, this definitely brings some nostalgia to some early childhood memories for sure. Even in Virginia, the northern part anyway, I was still susceptible to snow, and this kind of, you know, uh, this language is very familiar to me. And that's what it says, that we learn cold and wet as a language, and it's felt through um, sort of things such as raincoats and frosted window panes, and the kind of water that gets frozen on the ground, and it's like ripe for stopping. And that all is sort of and the wintry trees and all of this sort of this coldness sort of contributes to the language of the north, as it were. Um, and I like how that's sort of learned as a kind of early on for the speaker, and it might be I think it might be maybe a recollection. But either way, they're still very nostalgic, and um, that it's good that they're going outside, I think, and as opposed to staying indoors on those claustrophobic school days when you're just, there's nothing to do except just go outside. Because staying indoors on a school day when there's like snow out, that seemed like sacrilegious in a way, as a kid. So there was a lot of just, I just like the idea of uh, kind of that freedom of being able to be a kid for a little bit in that sense, and have that freedom to do what they do with snow in the north. I like it.
It's so much fun. So, Zach, the spirit of this, we sure shifted gears quick. The spirit of this
Yeah.
is completely different than what we've read so far today. And again, nod to the group. This is what we do. Love the way they come together, and they just rip your heart out and then make you giggle, and you can't even hardly read a line, or I can't, because I'm thinking about all the things I did when I was a kid, and that's what this poem represents by Dark Night of the Soul. It's that, and you touched on it, Zach, that unbridled joy that comes from having that day out of school with a fresh blanket of snow on the ground. There's snowball fights, there's sledding, there's all these things. And even though we were told we couldn't go to school, we still hit the doors and went outside. You could even make money shoveling if you wanted, but this is more about the pure joy of it, building snow forts and just raucously playing and all that. And it threw me back to my youth too, here in the Midwest in Indiana. We get cold weather and we get snow every year. Sometimes it's a little different now than what I remember it, but that's probably nostalgia more than anything. Who knows? But I really love this piece, and it was so sweet and so innocent in the picture that he attached to it. If you can't see it, the picture he attached to it is two children in a creek in their snow gear, and they look like they are having one hell of a good time, or are getting ready to have one hell of a good time, I guess. But anyway, lovely piece, and great write, Dark Knight. Oh, now what do we got, Zach?
All right. Next up, we have Purple Gerbera's piece, and that's I Don't Want to Die, an ode to life that fought. Hmm.
So I'm gonna tell you, Zach. Okay, we cold read everything, but I did read the author's notes on this just to see and make sure we didn't have some sort of misunderstanding about what this piece was about. So if you'd like, go ahead and
Sure.
read the
Yes.
author's notes first. Would you like to?
Sure. I can. Um, for the man who died waiting for rescue, Mehta. Sorry the system failed you. For a non-Indian audience or anybody who isn't familiar with this incident, Yuvraj Mehta, a young engineer, was met with a tragic end in January 2026 in Greater Noida, lost control of his car at night and fell into an unprotected, water-filled construction pit. Poor visibility due to dense fog, inadequate lighting, and the absence of warning signs or barricades contributed to the crash. Despite being alive for some time and attempting to call for help, rescue efforts were delayed and ineffective, and he ultimately died from drowning. This case highlights serious negligence and preventive infrastructure failures. Hmm. Yeah, it's
I
good to have
felt
that
like that was
context.
important in front of the
Yeah,
piece.
so this is based on true events. Um,
Social piece.
right. I don't want to die, he said, as he tried to keep his head just above the water as he swam, and so desperately waited. Signals he managed to send and avoid by waving his flashlight, praying someone sees it, in the dead of the night, sunk into a ridge, thrown off the road. But he knew he didn't want to die, as his flashlight const, uh, as his flashlight consistently glowed. The rescue team arrived. They were so very close, but it had been too foggy and too cold. As their footsteps froze, they can't dive in. They weren't experts. They just had no clue, but He didn't want to die. That's all he knew. So he waited, and that's all he held on to. 2 whole hours. He managed to survive. He didn't want to die, and they didn't want to dive. I don't want to die. He tried, but could barely shout as his lungs closed up and his light went out. The fog was dense, they said, too dense to impair judgments. It was too cold, they reasoned, too cold for anyone to lament those 2 hours in one life, and zero actions to prevent, all brushed up in haste, labeled a tragic accident. Should I blame the fog or the system? Who should I grieve? Death of the protocols or the man who had a chance to live? Asphyxia or apathy? What's the cause for the life that's lost? Aren't you ashamed? Was your comfort worth at a life's cost? You know what enrages me. They had the time. You weren't late. I don't want to die. Were his last words, and yet you sealed his fate. End poem.
Great job, Zach. Very compassionate tone as you read that. And I feel like the author's notes were, usually we'll read them after, but this one was important to read because it set the mood, didn't it?
It sure did.
And I love the social piece. I love the social pieces because they're not usually the most flashy or embellished or whatever. They're more factual, presented in a way that this did exactly that. What Purple did here was draw attention to an event that really gripped her and said there's something wrong with the fact that we're developing so fast that we're not taking the time to protect people from said development. And you hear about it. This does not only happen in one spot in the world. This kind of stuff still happens in California in the United States, which is one of the most well-developed countries in the world. We're not third world in really any aspect or sense of the word, but people will drive off a cliff and they'll be at the bottom of the cliff and can't be rescued. Now, cell phones, it's kind of cut some of that out, OnStar, things like that, but it's not perfect because you still have the greatest obstacles ever known to man have been nature's. Mother Nature is unrelenting and unforgiving. Landscapes, hillsides. You could be literally 50 feet away from somebody in the woods and not know where they are, not be able to hear them, not be able to get to them. But the fact that this piece talks about this man being conscious and knowing that the rescuers were near and trying to get them to him, but they just couldn't connect and couldn't rescue him. And then they couldn't, when they did get to where they seen where he was, they couldn't formulate a plan that was going to be effective that kept everybody that was trying to rescue safe, apparently, because of how dangerous the surroundings were. So I really like this piece for that concept, and the way it was written was very, very beautifully done and compassionate, and that's what I like the most about it. Well done, Purple, and great read, Zach. The tone was perfect. You did a great job.
Yeah, oh, thanks. But I just I really enjoyed this piece. It had like the sort of I'm glad we had that author's note, but even without it, I think like it still had sort of a kind of an authenticity about it. And something about like it's kind of a scary situation. It's very scary to know that, I mean, you're basically put in the shoes of someone who's about to die, and that the person had essentially every the others had every opportunity to rescue him, and they pretty much I feel like it was a lot of negligence on their part. That it seemed like they might have just been making excuses. It might have not been the problems like the fog and stuff that might have not have been as difficult as they thought, because it didn't really do anything to kind of they formulated no plan or solution or did anything about it. It was passive on their part. They were just there. I don't know, to witness his death, and without any action. That's kind of they can't really they can't really just make excuses like that. But I guess this is the world we live in. So I can also sense that this kind of outrage behind the piece, behind the narrative, that is, that behind the narrative and the descriptions, there's little hints of the speaker's outrage, and that sort of mostly comes up at the end when they're asking questions, when the speaker's asking like such questions as who should I grieve, death of the protocols, or the man who had a chance to live. Um, and if she's pretty blunt about it, like they like I feel like it was definitely a systematic failure, and um, I feel like more could have been done potentially, and because nothing was done.
Yeah, the worst kind of bureaucracy ever, huh?
Right.
Seriously, I mean that's what it felt like, and you're right, Zach, to point out the underlying anger and rage that was put out there. Um, it was a great piece, and you know people should write those pieces as poets. We are the kind of people that observe and really try to think about the psychology behind it. How could you sit there and watch somebody and not want to do everything you possibly could to save their life? How could you?
Hmm.
I mean, I say that right now, Zach. My wife's in there nursing a 5 week old kitten that ran across the road last week, and we've collected it up, brought it back to our house, feeding it formula and stuff like that. So, you know, there's kindness to human beings, and when we see people that don't exactly stay as concerned about the preservation of life as what most of us are, it's appalling. You know,
Yeah.
it really is.
Outrage.
It's appalling. Let's move on and see what we got next, Zach.
Next up is that's you, my friend.
Uh, the it's titled Sequoia by Unexpected Bill. For those of you that don't know what a sequoia is, it is a giant redwood tree that lives in California. On my bucket list to go see. Pictured in for this piece, the inspiration. The inspiration is nature, but this is a picture of General Sherman, which I believe is the tallest redwood still alive. They're amazing, and I hope to breathe the same air with them at some point in time. I stand on the precipice of rain or ruin, the edge of a cliff, facing the abyss. Still no direction, no idea what I'm doing. I want it all, the earth, the sky, the streams, to live so completely, naturalistically. I could reach for the stars like a giant tree, the sun shining on my leaves high above, each branch reaching, every year teaching, as I grow into a mountainous monument of love. The wildfires would rage far beneath me, my roots untouched, skin unblemished. I would be impervious to wind, snow, heat. At my peak, I would dominate the forest landscape, cast a long shadow across the meadow, reach dizzying heights of which there's no escape. Tall and rooted deep, surrounded by many generations, magnificent wildlife, devoid of human strife. I would be proud, like all the great Indian nations. I stand on the precipice of rain or ruin, the edge of tomorrow. There's no pain or sorrow. I can breathe. I have direction. The flowers are blooming. Let it rain. End poem.
Hmm.
What do you think, Zach?
Oh, I enjoyed this one. I like how especially there's like there's a clear to me a narrative arc. There's like a beginning, a middle, and end for sure. I feel like the speaker at the start he starts somewhere with no directions uh of what he's doing, facing the abyss, and then um sort of coming to like a slow realization, or maybe like a series of epiphanies throughout, um, uh, kind of like as he grows, much like the sequoia does. And I like how there's like parallel sets of growth between the speaker and the sequoia. Um, and the sequoia seems to be like kind of like a sentinel or a watcher of all this change that's happening, um, and change. toughens the sequoia and sort of strengthens strengthens the tree. And by the end of it, uh, the repetition lets you know that I stand on the precipice of rain or ruin. Um, there's like but there's still like a change. There's like an explicit change there, because the speaker could breathe and has direction. So there's like a sense of that a lot has been that the speaker has like evolved in a sense, and that definitely knows what he's doing for sure, and has done so for a while, and the flowers are blooming, so there's a lot of natural evidence that positive things are happening, and I really enjoyed this piece. How um, natural the speaker kind of grew alongside the sequoia, and it kind of and I just like sort of like that structure that you chose.
Well, thanks, Zach. I felt like the structure really kind of isolated, and the reason I use that, it isolated each stanza a little better to where they kind of stand alone, but they build similar to like a haiku chain, but with
Mm,
a rhyme and a meter that is weird. And what you were pointing out was the intent for me in the way I wrote it. I didn't want to portray the feeling of hopelessness or necessarily being lost in the beginning. So my opening line is I stand on the precipice of rain or ruin. Rain, REIGN, meaning I could be king of everything or nothing.
mm,
The world is my oyster, but there's no inspiration. I'm not inspired to do anything. And from there, I'm going to read my author's notes, Zach, because you remember where this comes from. You will when I read my author's notes. Just took a trip out to Colorado. We did not get enough time in the mountains, but at least I got to show my wife what it looks like. I'm sure there will be multiple writes coming from the experience. I want to see the giant sequoias before I die. That's a bucket list thing.
mm,
That is number one on the bucket list. Until then, I suppose I can write about them. General Sherman is the name of that tree, and it is what is believed to be the tallest giant redwood sequoia is still left. And the sad thing, on a side note, the sad thing about those is, what did humans do, man, when we started developing California and all of that back in the mid 1800s? They immediately got saws and started hacking them down because all they seen was board feet. They didn't see a majestic living thing that had been here for 3,000 years, that has seen everything that we know about man for the most
mm,
part, that's been handed down in written word anyway. The Indian nations that surrounded them and honored them and all of that. I wanted to portray that same feeling, but in a modernized way, where you look at these huge, giant, majestic things and are just awe inspired. Because I can look at a picture and say, oh my God, that is so beautiful and stunning, and it just captures me. But I don't know what it's like to stand next to that tree and breathe the air that it's exhaling, the oxygen that it's exhaling. And I want to know. I want to know, and I will one day. I'll load the wife up and we'll head to California, and we'll go out there and we will see the giant redwoods. And I
mm.
guarantee you, I will not be disappointed. Ah, thanks, Zach. I really appreciate your comment on that piece. It's funny because I just come across that one again. I've seen it where every now and then I go and I look to see what people are reading of mine, and then I'll pick one of those and I'll put on the reading list to read aloud and share, because I feel like that's a good way to indicate what poets are reading currently, or at least the ones that are reading me. We ready to move on, Zach? What's the next
Ah,
piece?
absolutely.
I know
Next
whose
up.
it is.
It's my piece. Yeah, she already knew. Okay. It's funny. All right, it's a desert kiss. Mm, kissed by golden sunshine, a woman walks east. Honeyed skin shade running through dreams. She emerges from a western desert sunset, traveling the border between light and dark. Reds and purples fall behind solar-colored clouds. Sunlight fades fast in arc, orange, red rays. I whisper the words only her ears know. She's fit her locks upon doors opening to me, not to anyone. Her castle has many chambers. My hands reach inside, one door ajar, clasping the side, fingers sliding down. She pours outside. I stumble forward, electrified by the sight of her emerge before she yanks me inside her home. Doors close, and the only shine are pinpricks, ducking and diving, two sets playing in the dark, reaching to caress her face unseen. When we kiss, she melts. We melt together, fitting me more pristine than a tailor-made Apollo, armor glinting, pulling the sun with his chariot. The Lady Moon, her body lifted to the sky, spies the two of us by the window. She shines light into teething darkness, edges rounded and snug against rough spots. Staring at the black sky, her almond-shaped face frames large brown eyes, hazel up close, dilated cat's-eyes corners, upturned to my languid grace, now glisten, half-parted, mouths open in wait, for speaking sweet words again, softer sounds, breaths mingling, hands laced together. My words echo in the chamber between her lips. Shadows dance at the hazy center. Our flames burn in the cold air, flushed with chill. This blaze is no mirage, but an oasis. Kisses blur vision, burning the shallows, waiting for shadows to hide as dawn rises. And poem.
Oh, that's a good one, Zach. Well done. I really enjoyed listening to you read that. So I'm gonna I'm gonna say something that you may not. It may surprise you to hear me say this, Zach. But I love the way you open this piece up. Kissed by golden sunshine, a woman walks east. So the way you set it up, like geographically, was perfect, and that's well thought out because the sun to the back and all that stuff and the picture you've attached is a perfect companion to the piece you wrote because there's this yearning in this piece for what's to come. And if you don't mind, I'll read your author's notes. Another piece for her. She knows who she is, thinking about our next meet and remembering past times fondly. Image mind. So Zach made the image and wrote the poem and all of that. That's why they play together so nice. You have a way, Zach, in this, and I'm glad you're exploring the romantic side of your writing now because it's really quite literally opened up a new avenue to express yourself that sounds so natural. It does.
Hmm.
It doesn't sound contrived. You're just using poetic descriptors in your own words to describe the feelings and things like that. When you're describing, I whisper the words only her ears know. That's a beautiful line because what those words are, nobody knows. We can speculate, but they're just between you and her. Beautiful thing. That's the idea of a relationship. And there's so many of those little nuggets within this piece that are very personal and are a blossoming relationship. I'll put it that way. You can tell it's a blossoming relationship. It's not an old relationship because there's these giddy feelings and longing and stuff like that. And it grows. It's currently growing, and it's a beautiful thing. Well expressed and well written, Zach. I enjoyed listening to you read it. All right, tell me what I
Ah,
what I didn't know.
thanks. Yeah, no, you really hit the nail on the head there, man. I mean, there was it's pretty straightforward, you know. This is a pretty straightforward love poem, as it were. Yeah, for um my girlfriend, yeah, I just I wrote this for her, and this was like a I was just imagining sort of approaching from the east and her from the west, and just meeting somewhere in the middle, and kind of like a meeting of the minds, a literal sense as well as a metaphorical sort of union, reunion, maybe. Yeah, really enjoyed this writing this piece. I don't always, write romance, but when I do, it's just, I like to do this quite a bit if when I can, and um, yeah, I like to play with light, dark, different kinds of temperature. Uh, Dreamlike settings, and I try to combine all of that here in a sense. And um, yeah, really enjoyed it. And you caught all of that, man. So thanks. I really appreciate it.
Well, kudos to you, Zach, because it didn't feel overly active or too
Mm.
busy to really focus. It had that softness and it flowed correctly, and it was very, very palatable. It wasn't the kind of romance that you think, oh, that's not real, that's not true, or anything like that. The fictional novels and stuff like that, where, women read them for years and it's just unattainable, but it had a sweetness to it that was honest, and I appreciate it. Well done.
All
What do
right.
we got next?
Next up is Wednesday in October's piece.
And it is titled Holding for Morning. I take in the rolling hills, black fields, wildflower blooms, beneath long shadowed trees, clear skies, the crescent moon, still holding for morning. The country appears quiet, with its hand me down front porches, space and time stuck in churn of daily living. But poplars bend in northern wind, rustling their plans. And wood frogs break sleep as blue jays demonstrate, sounding a wake up call before light enters day. All the while, chickadees stitch bright silver linings into thin air. And these thoughts keep coming, drumming, loud as any city streets in poem. What do you think, Zach?
Hmm. I really enjoyed this one. This is like a sort of I thought it was nocturnal at first, this landscape, and it was just kind of beautiful. All these specific details, wildflower blooms under the crescent moon, and the quiet of the country road. And it reminded me, the piece reminded me of like some kind of like almost like a Robert Frost piece. That kind of same tranquil feeling, being in nature. It's very similar. And I think like I also like how as the moon kind of fades away, and dawn approaches, it becomes morning, and I feel a sense of more things happening in the piece. It becomes more lively as it goes on, um, because birds are waking up, um, and trees are kind of bending a certain way, and just like and as the speaker wakes up at the end, in a sense, it's just the speaker's own thoughts are adding to the cadence of everything else waking up and becoming a part of nature. It's just really cool. I like that.
Sorry, Zach, I missed the unmute button and started talking. There's
Oh.
a one a wonderful adult like but still connected to childlike wonder for nature here. And Wednesday, we've read enough of her to know that Wednesday in October really writes about a lot of nature. And there's things, about beaches and water and things like that, but also birds. Birds are a consistent theme with Wednesday. And she wrote this very well because it had this genuine just kindness and appreciation of this scene that she's describing so well. There's an anticipation, but it's not an anticipation for anything other than the moment, just to be in that moment and enjoy it and see much the same as my piece earlier about the tree, to be in that moment and be inspired by it and just soak it all in. And the way she ended it was absolutely perfect. And these thoughts keep coming, drumming, loud as any city streets. I loved that line when I read it. I thought, you know what? Nature can be just as loud as any city street, but it's in your mind and that place that it takes you. And it is recharging and refreshing your soul and making you able to go back out in the world and do what you got to do until you get back to nature again, because it has a way of resetting that is beautiful and captured very well in this. And her author's notes are very simple. It says, "My mind has fully gone to the birds. Must be all the noise." So the birds are chirping and going on, and it's like a wake-up call or a dinner bell or whatever you want to say. It's Pavlovian. Automatically, she starts getting excited about hearing the birds, and it puts her in a certain place, and it's such a good, happy place, and it's beautiful. And she mentions more than one bird too. It's not just one call, it's all of them, all of the noise and communication in the outdoors, in the, what did she say? How did she describe it? The country, out in the country. Wonderful. There's wood frogs and stuff like that mentioned. So it's a whole nature scheme, really, or nature theme. I loved it. It was a great piece. Where are we going from here, Zach? God only knows, right?
Right. Yeah. Next up, it looks like we have another nature piece. And that's Asama Chiba's piece, and that's entitled Language of Flowers. We have flowers on the picture too.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah. Love lingers in the garden of romance. Its blossom shimmers in the brightness of hydrangea colors. White sunshine, cashmere, crimson, blue in the moonlight. Their bouncy blooms with the language of flowers, conveying stories of forever lovers, evoking warm memories of feelings that still flourish. Every seed that was planted yesterday sprout today, flowering in the haven of harmony, beauty, and grace. Tender, soft petals springs, glowing sparks of old flames. With every sunset and every new day, we were always one and the same. End poem.
Lovely piece and great read. So this was written for a contest, it looks like. In contest by Haven Blue Jay. Allpoetry.com. Hydrangea Flowers, love poems. So that makes perfect sense when I read that, because first of all, that picture is stunning, isn't it, Zach?
Absolutely.
I really wish everybody that listens to us was a member of All Poetry and of All Poetry, so they could see the links to these poems and the inspiration that is with them. These look like just gorgeous colored cotton balls and hydrangeas. I didn't know what flowers they were, but I knew I loved them. I was like, oh, those are beautiful. And I'm going to have to show my wife after this show's over, because she probably already knows. She's flower nut. We got all sorts of different flowers out in our yard and try to attract hummingbirds and all that. Anyway, I digress. This is such a beautiful piece, and it felt like it was blooming to me. Like it was, all the colors were there that were mentioned, and there was a softness and just a nice wistful flow to it that felt so comfortable and so kind. You could maybe almost smell the flowers as you were reading it, and it was really, really beautiful. And I know this is the first one. This is the second piece Esima has added. I read one last week. You read this one, and it read very well, didn't it, Zach? It was very comfortable. That's what the first one I read of hers was very comfortable to read. It was like I knew the words that were coming. It was I was very impressed and equally impressed with this one from the picture and all of that. It was well written, and it celebrates these flowers particularly well with love and beauty, and the descriptors and all of that is perfect. What are your thoughts, Zach? You read it.
Yeah, it's a very lovely piece. I would say the one word I would use probably to describe it would just be warm. It's a warm piece. It's pretty, but it's also just very like yeah, warm. I mean, like a memory or I know it's referring to nature, but there's also just such warmth to it, and I just like how, I mean, there's literal heat because I mean you have the sunset and glowing sparks of old flames, and that's like into the cycles of love and nature essentially. And I like how these patterns kind of run parallel to each other. You have the flowers and they're growing, and just like how lovers they have their own kind of growth too, and um, like they like as seeds are planted, old sparks kind of become flames, old flames, and and burn with new life. And I really like that. I really like how that like how the way growth is treated in this piece, and this and it's very beautiful. I just like the how the piece combines nature and the feelings of love and intertwines them both quite seamlessly.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Zach. It was seamless, and you're 100% right. And I want you to hear this from me. I hate you for using the word warm on this piece because I was searching for a word to describe it, and a simple word like warm was exactly right. Well done, Zach. Yeah, well done. I was like, ooh, that's the word I wanted. Warm. Yeah, yeah, and it's a great piece from Essima. So what do we got now?
All right. Next up we have Mike Horsfall's piece.
And it is titled TikTok by Mike Horsfall. We all harbor enemies, shadows slinking through rival hearts, jealous flames licking at stolen banners, coveting the glittering spoils of others' lives. But the fiercest foe coils unseen, on our wrists like a serpent's gold grip, etched into the glowing veins of machines, pulsing through our fevered flesh. It surges eternal, a relentless river carving canyons through forgotten moments, its iron hands slicing away squandered dawns, ticking like a predator's claws on hollow bones. Chimes erupt as mocking thunder, crackling at the husks of wasted breath, perched on mantles like ancient tyrants, smeared across walls as unblinking eyes. It topples castles to dust, grinds mountains into whispering sand, gulps rivers dry like a voracious maw, evaporates oceans into ghost vapors. Iced kingdoms shatter in its scorching breath, deserts blaze fiercer under its whip, older than shattered stars, primordial as the void's first hunger, devouring all its endless, jagged stride. Time. End poem. Ooh, I'd just like to say this may be my favorite one by Mike Horsfall ever,
Hmm.
and that's a big thing because I enjoy reading his stuff very well. I think he was our first poet of the month, Zach. Actually,
He was. Yeah.
yeah, he was our first poet of the month, and writes like this is why. Go ahead, share your thoughts, Zach. I can't wait to get into
Yeah.
this.
This one, well, I mean, Mike is kind of, this is not the first time he's written about time. And really, at this point, he's so nuanced the way he writes about time. He kind of reminds me of like honestly how Roger Waters writes about it, in Pink Floyd. This he's just all this really like he has that sort of same a lot of that the same nuance, but this one's mostly kind of time is mostly like a cruel thing to in the hands of the speaker. It's just You could hear, I mean, you could hear the chimes almost like in the song itself, time in a way. There's like
Hmm.
it's very mocking, and I don't, it's just mechanical, and it can't really stop it. It's this unstoppable machine time, and it outlasts everything, castles and oceans and kingdoms and um, sand and mountains. It's just all these natural phenomena in time just sort of makes like a mockery out of everything in a way, and it's kind of an interesting thought. It's kind of an interesting way to like personify time, this all-consuming force. That's what it is. Um, and it's kind of voracious, and it's just kind of the way Mike does it. He kind of portrays time as kind of like a hungry, ferocious animal in a way with eyes and breath, and yeah, it's kind of scary.
Completely and totally insatiable for sure. Time is relentless, and I loved. I didn't I didn't know. I didn't assume this was about time. But what Mike did so well that really made me appreciate this piece in particular is the way he started out. We all harbor enemies. It's saying right up front, this is a negative emotional piece. It's the dark side of the emotional scale, is what this, it's opening up that way. But then it starts going through this soft buildup of the enemy of time and how relentless it is. And it mimics so many things. And I don't mean mimic like in a harsh way, like Steele's. It's influenced by so many things. And that Pink Floyd song you referenced, Zach, I would have thought the same thing because this felt like that song too. And it's the same subject, clearly. And what Mike's done here is he's drawn you into his world and his thoughts on that time in such a soft, subtle way. I was convinced it was my own thoughts.
Hmm.
I was like, I'm agreeing with this 100%. Oh, I see exactly where it's going. But it was revealed he's talking about a watch on your wrist and the way he describes that watch ticking and all of that. How was it? Uh, but the fiercest foe coils unseen on our wrist like a serpent's cold grip. It's a constrictor grabbing you and squeezing you and squeezing you and squeezing you. And the way that works is the more time that it spends squeezing you, the closer to the end you are. And that's what this piece is getting to. It's really getting to, the closing years or portion segment of our lives, how we value time. And there's this thing that when you're young, you don't have the wisdom or the appreciation of all these things until you get older. But then you don't have the time to savor and appreciate them as much because you're closer to the end. So it's such a strange. They're like opposing forces. You
Hmm.
can't be young and wise. You have to be older to be wise. But then you don't have the time to use your wisdom as much as what you would have had you been wise when you were young. So this is magnificent on so many levels. Again, I will say out loud, this is probably my favorite piece that I can think of from Mike Horsfall so far that I've read. Well done. We ready to move on, Zach?
All right. Next up we have our poet of the month, Pac-Man, and that's Baby Hope. All right. They called her Baby Hope. We gave her that name because no one should just be a number, a borrowed name for a borrowed life, just something to say over coffee when the silence got deafening. The cooler was white, cheap, sweating in the Bronx sun like it knew what it held. You learn early that monsters don't always wear masks. They were the same faces as the ones who light your birthday candles. I opened that lid once only once. That was enough to know what kind of world we live in. Years went by. I caught other cases, other names that didn't stick, but she stayed. Every dead kid does. They crawl into your sleep, ask questions you can't answer on the stand. Then one day a whisper cuts through the static. A match, a trace, a face that looks too much like her. We follow the trail back to blood, back to family. That's the part that always kills you. When he confessed, his words were soft like he was remembering a lullaby. I didn't write them down right away. I just watched smoke from my cigarette curl above the table and disappear. People said justice was served, but there's no justice in this job. Only names we give to the lost, and the cold comfort of the truth when it finally stops to say, "What took you so long?" End poem.
This sounds like it's something written from the perspective of someone who was either a police officer or a prosecutor or somebody like that, a first responder of some sort or another that come across this tragic scene, and the only justice out of it would be the conviction of the perpetrator for whatever the crime was against the child, and that innocence is lost. And this covers both sides of it equally. I think it has a very good balance in the fact that you feel this empathy for the child that was lost in that description, but you also feel this disdain for the system that can only come up with a conviction, and that's all you can do. It really is. But it doesn't, saying justice is served, one thing doesn't equal the other. I mean, even if it's a life for a life in the end or whatever, a child's life versus, some adult perpetrator who did something horrible and killed this child, is there really a punishment that's just? I don't think so. Myself, I don't think so, because you destroy all that potential, and there's, through the butterfly effect, you don't know exactly what you changed. That may be 2 generations away from the cure for cancer. You never know. So there's this tragic, and my mind runs with things like this, but it's what I felt as you were reading this, Zach, and it was a good read too. By the way, I really enjoyed listening to you read it. Pac-Man, Pac-Man can write these narratives in a way that pulls you in and makes you feel like you were there with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that. He's really good at that. You trace back to some of the stuff he's written about Vietnam and stuff like that. I felt like I was in the firefight. What are your thoughts on this one, Zach?
Yeah, wow. Yeah, this one brings to mind the Stephen King quote, "Monsters are real and ghosts are real too. They live inside us and sometimes they win." Uh, in the case, this is the monster. The monster is the guy who the killer in this case who really got off easy. Um, and he essentially it was such a needless thing to happen. And it just it's you don't know, you can't really understand the why. There's no why. You can't really understand the why for something like this. And yeah, it's just a kind of sadness that just and a horror that really as Pac-Man says, really it makes the uh sort of the world, you get to know what the kind of world it is like by that sort of the act of cruelty. And like you get to learn what kind of the potential for cruelty that people have is really just uh is the capacity, the cruelty for cruelty is just unimaginable for some. And the potential for this person, for this life that was lost, it's incalculable. The kind of tragedy that was wiped out. This child that um, had a life ahead of itself, and a family, and and Yeah, no justice for something like that.
Absolutely not, Zach. That was a great piece. Boy, they're really doing it to us again, aren't they, Zach?
Oh yeah, all the time.
All right,
And
what do we
all
got
right.
next?
Oh, next up we have Mario's piece, three O's, and that's your read.
Mario with three O's. The title is Fate and Prophecy. Oh, wise old man, there's a saint up that hill. I gave him silver for my fate and destiny foretold. He came closer, riddled and told. Trust your eyes, ears shall lie. Seek a man with worn out cloak, who is pale, wise, and old. Offer him silver, the winter is cold. Oh, fellow traveler, you're to be mistaken. I don't hold your fate nor destiny, nor do believe in prophecy. Now move along before sun turns bleak. You disappoint me, old one. I traveled far from the summer lands. Least you could recite me a tale for a coin or two. Your tongue runs loose, child. The bowl in my hands is no ordinary stew. Call it poison if you must. I drink to meet the end I'm owed. I am too old. Death has spoken to me. As he awaits my soul under the great dark oak, I shall fly to him before a soldier turns foul or a boar hunts to maul. The man died under the young traveler's feet, talking about death and the way they will meet. End poem. Hmm.
Hmm.
There's a little bit to unpack there, isn't there, Zach?
There is. There's a tale here.
Mm-hmm.
Like but it kind of like a it kind of reminded me of like a fable in a way. Just like or like an ancient tale, just a traveler who meets a wise old man like at the top of a hill. It's just for this for to see, for the sake of to see his destiny and fate told and he goes up there for a reason, but to hear those things, but like that's not what the old man is there for. Um, he doesn't believe in those sort of things. So the speaker is like, no, the least you can do is tell me a tale, but uh, he essentially murders the old man because he can't really accept that. Um, It's just like I think the young man caught the old man at a time at like the precipice of his own death because the old man was just about to drink a stew that might have led to his was about to lead him to essentially meet his maker in a way. So I think before the old man was on his way out, he at least the young traveler at least wanted something from the old man, but before the old man could really do anything about it, the traveler just kind of decided to kill the old man and sort of take matters into his own hands, and that's kind of a brutal way to end it. Um, yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting some kind of lesson learned. Maybe that was the lesson. Maybe uh, something about like that they're gonna meet and when only the traveler dies in a way. I don't know. It's just it's there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, there's um that's probably something I'm missing.
So I agree with you, Zach, as I was reading this, and I don't. I think it's written in a way that you could pull multiple meanings from it. The point being several different things. Meaning, Zach, you read it or listen to it and follow along and all that, and you form one opinion about what the real lesson, like Aesop's fables and things like that. There's a lesson to a fable. Without that lesson, it's not really there's not really a good point to it. But I think this has several lessons to it. For one, the young traveler is seeing this old man who's at the end, he's getting ready to go. And does he mistakenly believe that he's a prophet? Is he up there like, hey, tell me my future. Tell me something about me. And the guy's like, look, I'm not a prophet. I'm just here to die. I'm getting ready to drink this poison and I'm checking out, kid.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, son of a bitch, if you're not a prophet, I'm killing you. So angered and all that. I went that way when I was reading it. I was like, well, this is kind of, the guy's coming up there, the traveler's coming up there, and he's all wide eyed and he's looking at, it's like if you went to the Oracle of Delphi and you started, thinking about all these things, and it was a big, huge disappointment. Like, seriously, man, that's all you're going to tell me? Like, hey, tomorrow you're going to have chicken and noodles for lunch or something like that. And you're like, seriously, I want more than that. Give me something. Give me my destiny. Give me this. And then it's upsetting to the point where violence occurs. But is there really a point? Because the old man was checking out anyway. He already had his poison. He was getting ready to go. So instead of him choosing his way out by poison, then the destiny and the fate comes along in the form of the young traveler that's upset with him and kills him. So he doesn't even get what he wants. So nobody gets what they want. And it's frustrating and it's futile. I loved it. I really did, because there's so many ways to interpret it. Like we said, Zach, right from the beginning, a lot to unpack, but it was a whole lot of fun, because just like any fable or something, written along that lines with a moral and a lesson, it sends your mind into a thought process. Mm-hmm. And that's the wonderful thing of it. It doesn't even matter really what you pull out of it. It's the thought process that's so fascinating, I think. So that was a great piece, Mario. Really appreciate it. I think you did too, didn't you, Zach?
Yeah, I really, when it comes to Mario's pieces, I really don't know what to expect. Every subsequent piece is different, to a massive extent.
Yeah, that's not good. A similar line even.
Not similar, right. No, not a similar line of concept, and I like that. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yep. That's why it has 3 O's.
That's right.
As we're thinking. All right, what do we got next, Zach?
Next up, we have Garden Delights piece, and that's The Black Heart of Gossip, Day 20. Gossip is spit from the mouth of hate, made bold by jealousy. It's a seed seeking dark soil, sniffing out toxins to collect and store, hissing in loathing when wholesome things come close. When fully stocked with its weaponry of words, gossip slips into insecure minds, ripping apart good names, slinging lies, and growling wretched insults, all cloaked in facades of truth that reek of falsehoods. Loving arms ease the sting, but the passage of time brings the most relief. End poem.
I love that picture. It's a mother embracing a daughter, clearly upset about, one would assume, the gossip, right? The black heart of gossip, day 20. So what was said, what was done, and it's damaging. And it gets into the descriptions of where gossip comes from, the harm it does, and all of the things that are, let's face it, the Jerry Springer show, and I'll reference that because it was along the same, it was cut from the same, it gripped you in the same way that gossip does. That, it's a train wreck, a slow train wreck you're watching happen. And oh my God, that, people refer to it as spilling the tea, and I didn't know that one until my wife explained to me what that meant. And it is actually the scuttlebutt around an office or a work area. And usually it's gossipy, but there's harm done. And that's the thing. And I'm going to read the author's notes. They're not much, but it's an entry into PPP's Advent Calendar, Day 20, 80 words, no AI text, image Dan Grisano, gossip, pain, recovery, hate. So I think it traveled every bit of that emotional spectrum that Garden Delights mentioned here. And it was very cathartic, I think. It is a little bit cathartic in the way that, if you've ever participated in gossip, and we're all human, we have, we've either been the subject of at times or the instigator of whatever gossip is. Whether you're listening or saying it, you're just as guilty, to be honest. And it's a hurtful, terrible thing that you don't realize the scope of how it's going to affect that person. What if that's the one thing that puts them over the edge?
Mm.
And your inconsiderate thoughts and comments and all of that puts them over the edge, and they snap and do something, horrifying. Just over a little gossip, over somebody saying something that they shouldn't have said in the first place. So the lesson there is, don't participate in it one way or the other. Don't listen to it, walk away, whatever you got to do. Kindness is a better way of life. And the roots of where gossip comes from are well displayed in this piece. Garden did a very good job applying those negative emotions to where gossip comes from. What are your thoughts, Zach, as you read it? What did you think?
Yeah, I liked how gossip was sort of portrayed through personification as like a seed seeking dark soil, sniffing out toxins. So it's clearly this, for lack of a better word, toxic thing that just destroys wholesome things, destroys positivity when anything like that comes close to it. And it's like weaponized in a way, and it's covert too. It's like a sneak attack, and because you're doing it unseen, and from a they don't know what you're saying, and it's never good, and it's just it's not good for others, and it gets others in trouble, and people don't really believe what you say. I mean, like, there's like, it's hearsay. It's kind of just really, I mean, yeah, I mean, people, everybody kind of has done it, but I think like it's good to kind of kind of recognize it in the moment, and just kind of as a way to like be a better human, be more moral about it, and self-aware of that sort of thing. Because it really does, once it gets in the head of someone who's been put down a lot, and maybe just has a lot of like a history of certain things, and if it gets into their head, especially, that could do horrible things. And yeah, it could, as the poem suggests, it could rip apart their name and slip into their mind, and essentially destroy them from the inside. So it's good to stay out of that.
Yeah, absolutely, Zach. And that was a very kind piece. And I want to say this. I want to say this about the group that we have, the community within the community, our smaller community of the Quill and Parchment Society. What we've grown here is a community that is founded in kindness. We have some kind poets, kind, thoughtful poets that share their thoughts and all that. And this piece is a magnificent example of those thoughts. And it's each and every one of us in the community that are willing to share and put things out there like this that are appreciated by the rest of the community. Because we always say it, Zach, we're always in awe of what these poets put up for us to read, and we're honored by it. But this is just another example. This whole show has been an example, and every show is an example of that very thing. These poets come at us from all different directions, and our hope is, Zach, we only do it justice, but they're great poems.
Absolutely.
I,
That's what we can
I,
only hope for, that we do our best for them, for the Parchies, that and their artwork,
yes, absolutely love the roller coaster ride we go on
Mm,
every week. So what
same.
do we got next, Zach?
All right. Next up, we have Sophie's Richties. Sophie's Richtie piece, and that's called. Let's hear it.
It is titled "The Wired Garden," and this is one. This is a piece I've read from Sophie some time ago. I don't know when it was written, but I'd comment. November of 24 is when it was written, but I commented on it before. And Sophie has been a part of our group for some time, but this is
Is
the
this the
first
first
post.
one? Yeah.
Yes,
I
this is
thought
the
so.
first post she has made to our reading list for us to read, and
All
hopefully
right.
it's only the beginning, and it grows from here, and we get to read her and share her thoughts more often. And let's see, "The Wired Garden" by Sophie Richties. Smoke rising from the left horizon, a constant reminder of the horrors within.
Mm.
Dark shrouded death hanging heavy over the serene garden. Gunshots in the air, screams, trains, furnaces, bodies float shallow. The facade of playtime, efficient burning, teeth as seashells, drumming the chaos. Beauty and brutality blend, fine stark contrast between life and death, malevolence disguised as smiles and laughter, those hearts apathetic, a distant, dreamy compassion. Smoke billows, a haunting specter, lives reduced to ash in the ovens of hatred, eternal stain, indelible darkness, never to be forgiven. An angel sharing apples, secrets in dark places, defiance in small acts. Shadows oppress and bind, forgotten souls suffer, heartbeats of kindness, warmth in deathly cold. In poem. All right, Zach. That's
Mm.
right up your alley. Give it your thoughts.
Yeah. This one was well, I know, based on the author's note, what it's about. It's inspired by the Zone of Interest, and that's I know that's an Auschwitz film. Um, so this is based on the Holocaust. This is a Holocaust piece. This is a reference to that period of history, and it's so I know that this piece is describing sort of the domestic life that takes place besides, I mean, beside the actual death camp itself, the sort of the relative illusion of normalcy that the commandant's headquarters and their houses have, because they have their own lives, they have children and relatives, and they're sort of, they have this sort of weird normalcy that they portray. That they have like this illusion of a normal life while all this destruction is happening around them, and their kids are playing with, teeth like they're seashells, and they hear gunshots and screams, and on a regular basis, and they just kind of normalize it. And it's a lot like how things today are normalized and swept under the rug, like that. And it sticks out. It's just that period of history. It's like almost in a way like doomed to be repeated. But like it's a cycle. It just doesn't stop. And this was that this is that kind of darkness. Yeah, that it's very prominent in this sort of time period in World War II, and it's about as dark as it got back then. And it didn't really just because genocide happened. It's still happening, and it didn't really prevent more from happening. But people are aware of it, at least, despite the deniers. And that's all that we could hope for is increased awareness, and uh, take action to ensure that something like this will never happen again.
Yeah, it's amazing how history repeats itself. There's been genocide after genocide after genocide in human history. Smaller scales, larger scales, some in Africa, some in Europe. But this one that Sophie has written about this time, Auschwitz, the World War II, and the attempted extermination by Nazi Germany of the Jewish population within and taking over everything. And it captures the spirit of that so well with the mentioning of all the things that specifically draw you into that place and the despair and the innocence of the kids playing with the teeth and the ash and things like that. And I think it's a very accurate portrayal of the movie that she's mentioned that I have never seen. But, I've seen movies like Schindler's List, and I'm really one of my many areas of interest is history, Western history, but particularly I like the world history of World War II era, World War I and World War II more specifically, because there were so many moving parts. And our modern world, the world we live in today, for better or worse, grew from the ashes of World War II. There's some things we learned and some things we do better and some things we didn't learn and we continue to do and horrify each other by proving our humanity. And the bad parts of humanity are just as powerful as the good parts of humanity are endearing, unfortunately. And, this was, I had read at this point in time, I think, I can't remember specifically, but I had, Sophie had commented on one of my pieces, and then I went and read one of her pieces, and her pieces are generally very thoughtful, and very, not light, but not so dark. Neutral to light rather than dark. This was the first really dark piece that I read from her, and I remembered reading it whenever that's part of the reason, I was just amazed by it because even reading it this time, it was just as powerful. A little time between the time I first read it and now, but it was very, very powerful and effective because it pulled you into that scene, that situation where you were like mortified and you could see everything that was happening around. So it was well done, powerful, dark piece. And things have gotten to the point, Zach, where these guys, I don't know what they're going to do in the future. And I look forward to all of it, what these Parchies are going to do for us. And I feel like we have just a collection of great poets and thinkers and humanitarians that keep drawing us to a place that is just wonderful. And you never know where it's going to go.
Absolutely.
I love the way we traveled through
Plenty
this,
of gas in the
this
tank.
episode. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that there's no restrictions. How many breakups did we have here? 2 or 3 breakups, and then
some flowers.
Yes,
flowers.
and then
More than a few.
it's flowers and love and kindness and nature and all these things. So we traveled. I laughed a couple of times. I don't think they didn't really make us laugh as much this time as they did make us go aw or oh.
More like vowel sounds. Yeah.
Yeah, but the laughs I did get were really good because I couldn't even get through one line of a poem earlier.
Right. Oh,
so
that
hard.
one word. That I forget that word that you what it was. Yeah, claustrophobic or something.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Whatever it was.
You get to the point where you just expect to be dumbfounded from time to time from the poetry we get to read.
It happens.
We'll always be appreciative of it, won't we, Zach? Again, I do want to talk just a little bit about it before we go, Zach. We are going to be exploring what we're going to do for future podcasts because of the change that's being forced upon us by Podbean. Hopefully they changed their mind. If I just keep saying it enough, hopefully they change their mind and we can just keep going like we're going, because I really love the format.
Like the format.
And, I don't know why, but it seems like every time we start something good, it always has to end.
Oh, that's the nature of the thing, man.
Yeah, right. Where there's a beginning, there has to be an end. You got anything to add you want to add, Zach?
All good things must come to an end. That's about it. Oh, man. The bad ones just go on forever, I guess.
It's so true. Zach, I think we got through this without actually any feedback, anything. The only problem we had was in the beginning getting your mic live. So you solved that problem. Kudos to you.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be smooth sailing from here on out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, guys, poets of the Quill and Parchment Society, we'd like to say thank you. Another excellent show driven by what they write.
At times. Absolutely.
Yep. We're very lucky. So we'll see you. We'll see you next week, Zach. Same time, same place.
All right, Bill.
Have a great week.